greatest female sprinter in the world.
It's not a girl thing, it's a skills thing.
All the money that goes on the boxing, all the hours, all the like stuff that you miss out on. If you don't love it, if you're not enjoying the process, then why do it? For myself, being a bit older, I feel more confident in terms of my ability and like who I am and like why I'm doing it.
In our last episode in Women's Sport, we talk about boxing, and we brought you the story of Helen Baleke, the first Ugandan woman to win an international medal. For this episode, we're doing something we hadn't done so far in this podcast. We're bringing you 2 consecutive episodes about boxing. For this second episode of Season 2 of Women's Sport, we talked to Amy Andrew, a professional boxer in the UK. Amy's story is a little different than the usual professional athlete's path. To start with, she didn't even pick up the sport until her late 20s. And she switched from a newsroom, where she was a financial journalist, to a boxing ring.
I used to be a journalist. I was a journalist for about 10 years. And then I actually wrote an article about boxing. I tried it out, and then I signed up for a white collar fight. And so then I got really addicted and then essentially left my job and became a boxer.
So you said you were a journalist before, but you were actually in financial journalism. How did that come about?
When I first came out of my my journalism masters, there were no jobs because it was 2008 or something like that, and the recession hit. So in my whole year, I think like 4 people got jobs when normally every single person got a job. So it was a really tough time. I went into a local paper and I worked there for a bit and I loved that. But then I specialized because I was like, there's no jobs in journalism. Like everyone goes on the internet, whatever. It was a really difficult time for journalism. So I specialized in financial journalism and I'm terrible with money, really, really bad. So it was actually, I was really like, it was good because then I'd ask all the questions that you're meant to ask, you know, because I wrote a lot about personal finance and small business. But yeah, I kind of specialized as a strategic thing because there were more there were more jobs basically in financial journalism, but I then found it really interesting.
What's your favorite part about boxing? Is it the technique, predicting what your opponent might do? Is it being fast?
I think it's just like the punching stuff, you know, I love it. I think the technique is really fun. That's what makes it interesting. But honestly, I just like big sparring. I could spar 3 times a day. I just love it. And that's why I love boxing. And that's why I want to improve in technique or go for runs or fight, things like that, is so that I can spar. So getting in the ring with somebody else and just, you know, really being in the moment and having to think all the time about moving your head and like punching them, not getting punched, stuff like that. Like it's an incredible feeling because it's very unlike, you know, your civilized normal day-to-day stuff that you're meant to do and behave and all this sort of stuff. Getting in the ring and punching someone and then punching you is really fun.
Now, you've always been super sporty. You've signed up to marathons and you've done triathlons. What do you think was it about boxing that made you stick to the sport?
You sign up to things and then you just end up doing them. Like, I'm pretty fit, so I mean, it wasn't like I did them in a great time or anything like that, but it was like I wasn't good at training. So for like the training is the most important part, right? So with the boxing fight, it's not like I could just turn up and then be like, yo, I'll just get in the ring and give me some gloves. Like, you have to learn how to do it, otherwise you're going to get beaten up. So that was the only thing that forced me into training regularly. So that's really how I got into boxing. Because yeah, with the marathons, it's like, you're like, okay, I'll start next week. And then it comes and you're like, yeah. So with the boxing, you had to actually train. And then that's when I found out how amazing it is. And it's all about that technique and kind of learning all the time. And again, as a pro, that's something that absolutely, like, you know, I'm absolutely obsessed with it because there's always something more to learn, or, you know.
Another thing that made your career switch quite special was that you came to the sport rather late.
So I started boxing when I was 30, so I was pretty old to start a sport like that and sort of take it quite seriously. It didn't really start off like that, but my personality is quite sort of intense. So I was like, oh, this is really fun. And then I was like, I'm going to become a boxer. I guess the challenging part is everyone keeps telling you you're old. So you keep thinking, oh, maybe I'm too old for this, or maybe I should be doing this. So it's more that side of things, like other people's perception. Because I started the sport quite late, I feel like I don't have the kind of the hard years behind me, if that makes sense, in terms of like injuries and in terms of like obviously like being punched to the head a lot. So you can only do it for a certain time before. So I feel like for me, I'm kind of on my upwards trajectory in the sport. And I feel like as being a bit older, mentally, because I feel like boxing is all about your mental like toughness and kind of ability like to like, you know, focus and stick on something and believe that you should be there. And so I feel for myself, being a bit older, I feel more confident in terms of my ability and like who I am and like why I'm doing it, that I've chosen to do it. So I don't really have a problem with it, but I guess to start off with, it was more other people's perceptions of age and, you know.
So you actually spent some time boxing in New Zealand. How did that come about?
Well, I was born in the UK and then my mom's from New Zealand. So we grew up there, but we moved around a lot just because of my dad's job. So we lived in Northern Ireland, we lived in America, we lived in lots of different places. And then my mum and dad moved back to New Zealand. And that's actually when I sort of started boxing. So even though I also, because I live here, I'm married. So because of my age, it's quite difficult to get into the GB squad, just because it's all funded by you know, national lottery funding and stuff like that. So they tend to do things in phases. So even though I did win the amateur ABA, so I'm the national champion for England, I went over to New Zealand because it's all self-funded, and so they don't mind quite so much about ages. Not because it was easier, like it was really tough actually to go over there and get a club and kind of get involved with the whole scene there. And then obviously they feel like you're a bit of an outsider to start off with. But yeah, it was amazing, and it meant that I was always over there seeing my family, and the girls are really tough there, so that was like incredible. So yeah, I made the team there as well, and I was representing New Zealand, and we boxed internationally. So that was incredible because it just meant that like the level that you're at, just the people that you're in the ring with, you're always learning so much because there's all these different styles and stuff. So it was amazing, and it was like tough, but it was really fun. I tried out for the Olympic team. That took a couple of years to kind of qualify properly, and we were off to Wuhan for the qualifiers, but obviously COVID hit. So as we were on our way to Wuhan, that's when it all kicked off for the qualifiers. So they actually changed the system a bit, and they didn't end up doing qualifiers in the same way. And just because I haven't been boxing for a long time, I didn't have any I wasn't sort of ranked or anything like that. So yeah, it was amazing doing the amateurs, and I got loads of experience, but then I turned pro just because I felt like I'd reached kind of my level in amateur boxing.
And because you said because in New Zealand the people or the women are very tough, do you think do you think like there's a difference between like what you kind of see in the UK and New Zealand, or would you say kind of the landscape is similar?
Every single country has slight differences in how they box, which is really interesting, and that's why I loved kind of traveling internationally to try, you know, a lot of the kind of Asian boxers are like a little bit more like cool and like do cool stuff with their like long limbs and like whatever, and they look amazing. And then yeah, the Kiwis are just like bam bam, get in, whatever, smash you up, boom, done, get out. And then I guess English boxers are like really like technical, very technical, good with footwork. You know, like it's a huge sport in the UK in comparison to other countries, so we've got that history behind us and stuff. So for me, especially in amateur boxing, going to New Zealand with my kind of with the like more technical boxing, that worked for me. So
you became a pro boxer during COVID. How has COVID affected you in terms of training? I imagine as a contact sport, it must have been quite challenging.
Yeah. So on the plus side, professional athletes were allowed to continue to train. So it was actually really timing to be a professional athlete in some ways, because it meant that you could still stay in the gym. Like that was something that people struggled with a lot. Obviously over COVID, it's like quite difficult not to be able to like go to the gym and like do all these things at people's usual outlets. So for me, that was great to be able to continue to do that. Obviously, like I was trying to go to the Olympics. I'd sort of given everything, like thrown my, you know, every credit card I could at like trying to get there, and, you know, been training really hard. And so when it lockdown first happened, I was absolutely devastated, and I found it really hard to kind of get my head around like the fact that I wasn't then training for the Olympics. But then turn pro, and there's a lot to learn in pro. So I've managed to find my team now. It has been really frustrating because I've been trying to get fights, and then with COVID, it's been really, really difficult. One, to travel to get fights. Two, a lot of the shows, they only have a certain number of fights on them. So as a debut, it's difficult to get on those shows because they obviously want to make them as exciting as possible. They're not having as many shows. There's less people on the shows that they have. So it was really difficult. It took me a year basically to have my debut.
When was the moment you knew you were good enough to go pro?
So it was more that I felt like I was good enough to take myself seriously as an international boxer, because the Olympic, for me, like women's boxing is a little bit earlier than men's boxing. So the depth isn't there. Now it's seriously exciting because with COVID, a lot of people have turned over to turn professional because there wasn't any amateur boxing going on. So we have all these amazing boxers that are coming through from the amateurs, and that makes pro really exciting. But for me, I got asked to box for England, and I just never really, you know how you're like sort of, you think you're a pretender. You're like, at some point someone's going to find out that I'm actually really, really rubbish, but I'm just enthusiastic. And then when that happened, I was like, actually, you know, I can beat these girls. There's no difference between me and the top people. It's just that I work a full-time job, and, you know, I'm kind of old, so I didn't think that I'd like make it here. So then I kind of turned, that's when I sort of was like, actually, I want to make a real go of this. And then I kind of switched my attitude. But I'm very competitive. So from the start, I was always like, right, I'm going to win this. And then the next day I'm going to win this. But I guess for me, there was more of a strategy at that point where I was like, okay, I'm going to go to New Zealand. I'm going to really like make a real effort to get to the as far as I can in the, you know, if I can get to the Olympics, incredible. If not, box the best people, improve myself as a boxer, and then, you know, turn pro when that moment comes. And now it is a fairly new sport for women. So particularly when I first started out, there was not that many women who were boxing. And then the women who were boxing were a bit older, because it was more that they sort of found it on their own. So, and then also now people have started coming through who are a bit younger, which is amazing for the sport. So you have that amazing level of, you know, talent that's coming through and like really adding a lot of depth, and they've all been boxing since they were like, you know, before they could walk and things like that. So that's fantastic. So you either have people who are slightly older, so Katie Taylor, I think, is my age, Natasha Jonas, like quite a few people who are kind of top pros at the moment, just because maybe women's sport is that bit newer, and they've had the confidence as an older person to kind of get into the sport. But for me, like some of the girls that are coming through who are really young, I'm like, I could literally be your mother, so I should be able to punch you up. Do you know what I mean? So for now, I think it works for me because I've got like women's strength as opposed to like child's strength.
What's the biggest change for you now that you've turned pro?
Yes, there's two things. Firstly, when you're a professional boxer, you have to like entertain people. So that's the biggest difference. So with amateur boxing, you have to win, and that's it. Obviously it's good if you're exciting to watch, but no one really cares because no one watches amateur boxing anyway. With professional boxing, you want people to be excited to watch you, because that's why, you know, they tune in and watch you, and they watch you over other people. They want to see you fight. That helps your career progress. So the pressure is more that you want to be entertaining, you want to win, but you want to do it in style. And the second thing is that because it's a business, there's a lot to think about in terms of like marketing yourself, making sure that, you know, you're relevant, and that you're, you know, positioning yourself to kind of be one of the names that's up there to be so spoken about. And that's very difficult, especially for someone like me that's kind of just come late, doesn't have the right contact sometimes. So I'm just really working on that. But hopefully, I mean, I've got some exciting news that's coming up in terms of my contract. So hopefully that will happen for me. But yeah, there's a lot more to think about it. And it can be frustrating, but also it's exciting, because when it works, then, you know, it is really exciting to watch fights that are like, you know, you see your style improve, and that's cool.
What I'm also wondering about is sponsoring in women's boxing. Do you think that has become somewhat easier in recent years?
Well, it has changed a bit, because I think women's sport is a huge, is something that companies really keen to get on board with at the moment. Like it's a massive, you know, buzz. There's a buzz around women's sport, and there's a lot of exciting people that are coming through and people want to watch. So that really helps. In terms of women's boxing, it's not where sort of MMA is. There isn't that huge audience. But COVID's actually really helped because promoters didn't have the right money to kind of throw at some of these events that they wanted to put on. So they put on women's title events because they're cheaper. And then that really brought through some of the amazing female boxers, and people kind of started to get excited about names in women's boxing. So yeah, I guess it's a chicken and egg thing. It's like the more exciting boxers are, the more promoters will going to get involved, and there's more sponsors, and then it's kind of one of those things, but it seems to be going in the right direction. So I mean, I've got an amazing group of sponsors too, but they're really, it's not really that they want to be in the limelight, they just want to help out. So I'm lucky to have met people who are really kind.
A few months ago, we talked to a researcher about how sometimes women who become professional boxers are seen as less feminine, or they have certain stereotypes attached to them. Have you encountered this?
Well, they used to be. So people would always be like, "Oh, I can't believe you're a boxer. You don't look like a boxer." And you're like, "Oh, that's so rude, but oh, thanks." At the same time, like, it's kind of weird because I don't know. And then now people are like, "Oh yeah, I can tell you're a boxer," and I'm like, now I don't know like how to take that. So I don't know. Again, it's one of those things where you're like, you want people to be like, "Oh wow, you're so like feminine, as if you could box." And then on the other, it's very like, I guess like that's the other thing about you, like as a female athlete, we're meant to be like, you know, and a male athlete, you're meant to kind of look a certain way and be a certain way and all these sorts of things. But in professional boxing in particular, you are selling something, and people are interested in people and what they look like and what they say and what they do and all of that. So I mean, you can't really just come into professional boxing and be like, "Oh, I can't believe that people are so like, you know, care so much about all this stuff." And it's like, well, don't do professional boxing then. That's part and parcel of it. It is a business. So, you know, and it is quite an old school business, really. You know, you still have ring girls in some shows, and, you know, the concept of boxing, it is a very traditional kind of old school vibe. So you are coming up with that, so you know, you shouldn't be surprised by it. It doesn't mean it's okay about that some people kind of act in a certain way, but you shouldn't be surprised by it. You can try and change it. It's cool if it doesn't have to be like a sexual thing. You don't have to like look like amazing, but you are trying to get people to buy into who you are and what you're standing for and all this sort of stuff, so that they're interested to watch you perform.
You also train others, don't you?
Boxing is now something that's very mainstream in fitness, but people are quite snobby about it. Like, they think it's either fitness boxing, which is just to music and it doesn't really matter what people do, or they go down to the local gym and they have to like throw the jab right a million times. So for me, I feel like when I teach in fitness gyms, the people who come, like, they absolutely love it. They get hooked. That's how I got into it. So I understand that, you know, you want to learn, you want to be taken seriously, and you want to improve in your sport, but also get a good workout, because at the end of the day, you've got a million and one things to do, and you only want to like get a sweat on, get back to work, you know, move on with your life. So I'm head of boxing, and so I'm developing the program there. So that's really cool. It's an amazing opportunity for me, because especially with COVID, I mean, being a boxer doesn't pay very much. So it was cool to kind of get involved with those guys, and yeah, they've given me a real like free rein as to what I can do there. So retraining like some of the instructors, all of them are really good already, but it's amazing to like kind of really work on their ability, like their boxing IQ, and bring in some extra new trainers and like develop the courses within Virgin Active. So that's cool, and they've been really supportive to me as well for my boxing career. So
I'm curious, what are your classes like?
I really like things like Britney Spears and stuff, so they're tough but also fun, if you like Britney Spears. Or like, also I Shazam, you know, when you're in the gym, there's all these like young people with cool tunes, so I like Shazam the tune and then play on my class and pretend I'm cool, but really then we have to go back to Britney Spears to like balance it out a bit.
How do you prepare for your next fight? Let's say your fight is next week, you have a few days left to prepare. What do you do?
Yeah, so in terms of the last little bit, it's just focusing on being mentally ready, you know. So obviously you have to make weight, so that's like the first little bit. I've got an amazing nutritionist, Sinead, and she's like really helps me, because before because I was like kind of late to the sport, I'd be like wicked, and I'd like starve myself and then eat loads, and so I just wasn't very good at making weight because traveling and everything like that. Whereas now it's something that is like part of the process. So yeah, as long as you feel like you're sticking to all the different your different routines, all the money that goes on the boxing, all the hours, all the like stuff that you miss out on. If you don't love it, if you're not enjoying the process, then why do it? So yeah, I try and mentally stay on it. So get ready.
Does it bother you a lot if people come up to you and talk to you about your age and maybe settling down or having some sort of 5-year plan sorted out? Do you think that happens more to you because you're a woman?
I do, yeah. I think it's quite rude in general for people to say that to any woman. I think it's quite like, I know people kind of mean well by it, but it's very rude to say to someone else, someone, shouldn't you be doing this? Or like, what if you couldn't have children? Like, what if you didn't want to get married? Like, what if you were like, whatever, there's so many reasons why you shouldn't do that. So it's quite rude for people to say that anyway. And it makes you think about it all the time, because then you're like, maybe I should be doing this. Maybe, do you know what I mean? I think it's wrong for people to say that. And I think people, as a woman, and especially as, you know, because of my age as well, that people do project their views of what I'm meant to be doing on me. And it is tough, but it's something that I've learned to kind of, you know, it's part and parcel of it. And I've got better at, you know, trying to let it go past, what is it? Past the ear, whatever it's called. Over the shoulder, I don't know. Yeah, it's tough. And I think, you know, people's views of women do impact how female athletes are kind of, how they behave, how they train, you know. It's such an interesting topic, and there's so many like aspects to it. With boxing or any kind of martial arts, like it doesn't really matter how fit you are, what size you are. Like boxing's got from like straw weight to like heavyweight. Like it's built for every single person. And, you know, there's always something that you're good at that someone else isn't good at. So that's why I love it. And it's like, you kind of get into learning about the sport, and then you get fit on the side. So you're not like, oh, I have to go through like this long run or whatever to get fit. You just kind of learn stuff, and then you get fitter along the way. And so for me, that's like more of an exciting way to train. That's why I love it. I think that's why other people really get into it as well.
Thank you for listening to Women in Sport. If you like this episode, make sure to subscribe and follow us for more.
Or if you want to say hi, follow us on Twitter. We're on Women Sport Pod.
I'm Sophie Timmerman.
And I'm Tess Mostelis.
See you next time.